Alright, hello everybody. Today I have for you a book review, and that is going to be on Night Film by Marisha Pessl. One second, let me find my... Okay, so this book was very, very popular a couple of years back, like right about when it first came out, which was, I believe, like 2011 is my guess. 2013, because one thing that this book does have is it's got a lot of... There we see lots of text here, but there are a lot of like pictures and stuff in here, like stuff like fake websites and everything, which at the time was a lot more exciting than it is now. Basically, this follows this kind of weird so there's this weird like cult horror movie creator, and his daughter is found dead. And so it follows this guy who's trying to figure this. I think he's like a disgraced journalist. If I'm remembering correctly, I read this book 4 months ago. He's like a disgraced journalist trying to figure out what happened to this daughter, because the reason he was disgraced is because he published some things on this man that were either unsubstantiated or turned out to be completely false. I think, if I remember correctly, they were unsubstantiated claims, but it follows him trying to figure out what happened to this girl for real and what's really going on with this guy. So this is a love letter to horror. There is so much in here that I love so much. Like, I love horror. Horror is my favorite genre when it comes to movies, books, everything. Like, horror is my favorite. It's always been my favorite. I mean, like, the first chapter book that I remember reading was R.L. Stine's Monster Blood, part of the Goosebumps series. Monster Blood is... It's actually, a lot of people don't like the Monster Blood books, if we're getting to the Goosebumps tangent here, because the main character is a little bit whiny, but I always really loved them. But no, like, horror movies too I've seen so many things that are like on Twitter, it's like, what psychopath watches horror movies alone? It's like, it's me. I love horror movies, and like, my boyfriend doesn't dislike horror movies. Like, they're not like his least, he'll watch them, but he's not a super big fan of them. So a lot of the times when if I'm watching a movie by myself, I will always pick a horror, not always, but most of the time pick a horror movie if I have a choice in the matter. But horror is my favorite genre of everything. Like, I adore it so much. And so this book, which is, it's not a horror novel, but it is a crime thriller kind of thing, which it does dip into horror a little bit. It's still a love letter to the genre, which I enjoy quite a bit. I want to kind of compare it to another book that I read recently that is also kind of a love letter to the genre. That'd be Scream All Night, which is a young adult book about a kid who is like the son of a cult horror movie director, and both the books are incredibly different. They've got incredibly different styles and plots, but what they both have in common is that they are just so enamored with the genre that they are talking about. And so I do think that they're both pretty similar in that regard. So I love the side characters so much. Like, the main character is a little bit meh, but the side characters are so much fun. Mostly Hopper. I loved Hopper a lot. He was just that trope that I loved. Like, I knew as soon as he stepped on page, and as soon as he kept coming back, it's like, this is my favorite character in the book. And that was true. That's what happened. The writing style was very unique too. Even beyond this stuff, the way that the book was written was very, very interesting, and it honestly was inspiring to write for me personally. And that is one thing that does always kind of edge me toward thinking a book is good or really enjoying a book, is if it does inspire me to write myself. And this book did that, so that was fantastic. It did have a very unclear ending. Like, if like the ending was, it wasn't like something you would call immediately satisfying, but there was no way it could have ended any other way, so you just had to kind of deal with it. I would say that this would make a fantastic movie. Like, there was a part near the end, or this isn't really spoilers, because I'm just kind of telling you, it's not really spoilers, it's not spoilers at all. There's a part near the end where the main character is going through a bunch of movie sets, and that part was just, it was insane. Like, that was probably the best part of the book. And it would just, the visualizations that the author was giving us on that part, and the visualizations of all these movie sets and what was going on in them, and just the like confusion on everything, that part especially would make an amazing scene in a movie. In this entire book, I think was written very, very cinematically. It did work very well in that regard, and I think that it would make a very good movie. You see, this book was in the library that I worked at in college, and they withdrew it, and I had been meaning to pick it up for years by the time they withdrew it, and so I was able to grab it for free, which is very good. But yeah, overall, this is one of those ones where I feel like it was made for me. This happens a lot where a book, I see a book synopsis of that, it's like, oh, this feels like it's made for me. A lot of the times it's actually awful and I don't like it, but this time it worked out really well. I loved it. It was fantastic. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars, and I would not be surprised if it ended up being one of my favorites of the year. Like, it was insanely good, and I had a lot of hype when it first came out, and I understand that. I understand that hype completely because it is fantastic. It's a fantastic one. But yes, that is all I have today. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.